So once again, I'm in my trusty 2D sub, and was out heading toward my patrol, and I picked up a radio contact for a convoy, and it was showing as it was reported as a convoy in AN 189, with an 8-knot speed in this direction, and that direction looks like it's headed toward Bergen. So I figured, well, why not? I hadn't got out to my patrol zone yet, but sure, if I'm speeding along out there, it's gonna be difficult to explain to BDU why I didn't take an opportunity to attack a convoy. It's a little odd that in this game you get out to the patrol zone and then it gives you an optional mission to sink tonnage, and anything that you sink along the way doesn't count toward the optional mission. And if you're in a Type 2D sub or a Type 2A, you only have 5 torpedoes, so deciding to attack a convoy along the way is, you're running the risk of using up all your torpedoes and then turning right around and having to go back to Helgoland to reload torpedoes and then go back and try this mission. So you're almost incentivized to ignore these convoys and radio contacts along the way so that you can complete the mission. And you don't seem to get penalized in this game for avoiding a convoy that is fairly easily intercepted. So anyway, I had worked out the vectored approach, and if you're interested in that, I've got there's another video for intercept vectors you can take a look at, and I explain what I'm doing here with vector math to come up with that angle. But what I wanted to do, because I have imperfect information based on a radio contact, is I wanted to dip down right here and kind of see where we are in terms of whether or not I'm close to where I predicted the intercept. And when I did that, and right now I'm in pause time, but when I did that, I got this reading of ship propellers. There's a dozen of them at 320, which is over in this range, which is what I expected and good. But one thing that wasn't expected was this ship propeller bearing 23 degrees. So, I'm heading this way, bearing 23 puts it over here. So that's kind of curious. So I thought, well, maybe let's investigate that a little bit and see if there's a target here. Now, if it's moving away, fine, I'll stay on track for the convoy. But if there's some other opportunity here, why not? We'll check it out. So I'm going to take us out of pause time, and I'm going to use these tools that I've explained before, but basically got one over here. As you click them, the camera kind of recenters. So this is probably the one that's in that that 2-3 bearing, but it's medium speed and it's closing in. So closing in is interesting. So it's coming toward me. I could right now use this button and set intercept to kind of see, well, where might I meet it if I'm cruising along at 5 knots. And I'll go ahead and do that. We'll click there, and it says if you're going at that speed, you guys are going to meet up right there based on medium and closing in. It's like, okay, well, that's interesting. That's a pretty easy intercept. So we'll go ahead and put that as that's the expected M2 location. But what if I wanted to get a little bit more information about the true course of that target? Well, I've got one spot. That's where we're going to meet in the future. I know it's approaching me, but it could be approaching me at any one of these angles. If I wanted to further take advantage of the interface that we're gifted with in this amazing submarine that we've got, may not be historically accurate, but our crew seems to have some amazing capabilities. And what I could do is I could set my speed to 0.
All engines stop.
And then do the intercept. And what it'll say is intercept's not possible. But when the intercept is not possible, what it's reporting is the actual current position. So if I mark that as position M1, then I know the ship is there and it's proceeding to here where I would be able to intercept it. So a line between the two, and we basically have true course. In this game, if you have the true course determined, which we can easily do, even though this is 100% hard mode, you basically have all the advantage now. And we are, completely stealthy. We're down at 30 meters, and I've already got perfect information on the course. So now the question becomes, well, what should my approach angle and attack angle be? If I wanted to follow U-Boat Commander Handbook, it might suggest, hey, you proceed at flank, and if I did that, I could go flank ahead, and it's going to adjust my intercept angle, and it's going to say at flank I'm going to meet right there. That's a pretty high angle shot. I like to approach the ship, be able to take some other readings, maybe get a bearing on the on its actual speed, even though I know it's moving medium, so the speed's probably 8 or 9 knots. I also like to identify the ship, and doing it at this high of an angle, that might be a little bit difficult because it's going to be hard to see it as it's coming in. I do like to approach the ship on the intercept because it keeps the ship at a constant bearing, decreasing range. So what would happen then? How could I stay on an intercept course and move this, move my intercept vector? So if I reduce my speed, you can watch as it comes down. Now this M2 location was where I had it, I think, forward 3. Let's see, or half ahead. Yeah, that's about right. Now what if I start creeping in slower? I mean, I could go dead slow. And because that ship is approaching me, I could come in dead slow. And, there's still quite a bit of space here that I've got to wait for that ship to traverse. But that puts me on, let's see what kind of approach angle. So that's 35. If I was on a 60 angled attack, it would look about like that. This is kind of like a 36. It's not too far off of like a 45. So maybe my plan. I've got a couple options, and I think there's so much distance here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close the gap a little bit. So we'll move ahead flank. But I want to be in an attack radius. My kill zone I usually set for myself is 2,000 meters, and I think I'm going to improve my position a little bit. Maybe give myself a little bit higher approach angle. So maybe instead of approaching there, maybe I'll approach toward more toward this angle, and or maybe about right here. Well, I guess we could plan for the angled attack we want to take. Could try that. I know that that's about 45, so a parallel off that 45 would look about like that. So maybe I'll shoot for something like that. And I could, if I could intercept there, I definitely can make it to this spot here before that ship meets that intercept. So, and I can stay submerged and not worry about detection too much. So we'll go ahead and excel time.
Merchant ship, 345 degrees.
All right.
Take your positions. It's go time, boys. Let's sink some ships.
And we got a freighter bearing 341. So 341, puts us here. So that ship right now is probably right about there on its course. So it is just coming into the, we're both approaching we're both just entering the kill radius. So this is, nearly perfect. And I think at this point, once I'm, within this realm, and this is going to be, from here to here is 2,000. From here to here is 2,000. So it's still a good distance off. But I could go ahead and move to periscope depth. We can stay at ahead flank, moving at 7 knots. And maybe we adjust our course now for, maybe we recheck where we are on the intercept. So let's
20 meters.
Change course.
let's check it. And now at flank, this would be where I'm going to, I know the ship's up there. This is where I would crash into the ship.
We're at periscope depth. Ready for surface observation.
So that's at flank. Let's see what angle that gives us. That's coming in at a, that would be a 60. So there's a 60-degree angled attack. So this is a pretty textbook 60-degree on bow attack, and that's going to give us a pretty good view of the ship. Instead of coming in at 45, which would be more of a bow on view, I can come in at 60, and this looks pretty good. So I'm going to clean up my my map just a little bit. And right now I'm at 1.5 kilometers or 1,500 meters. I'm going to slow us down
Dead slow ahead.
because I don't want to make up that much space that quickly. On a bow approach, I still want, let me make sure our ship, I still want I'm going to be using the TDC to do a gyro angle shot. So I'm not going to be doing a 0 gyro angle shot, although I could, coming in at 60, and that's a pretty high angle. But what I could do is wait until it passes my 0. Maybe it gets to, if I wanted to, if I waited till it got to the 30-degree mark, we gotta wait for our ship to straighten out here. And I might even stop
All engines stop.
for now. If I waited for that ship to get to the 30-degree, or I guess that looks a little bit skewed, but some of this has to do with the, I wish the devs didn't, for this map, you see if I zoom all the way out, you see how that looks like a 90-degree angle, which is what I expect for 330. If I start zooming in, you see how it tilts the map? Tilts the map and it distorts my view. I kind of hate that it does that, and really wish it would stay in this this view, but whatever. That threw me a little bit there because it didn't look like 90 degrees. But math says if I'm coming in at 60, 30 degrees should give me 90. But devs, consider adjusting this map so that we don't get these strange skewed angles screwing us up. But what I can do is I can use this this to my advantage. Again, if you watched my last video on the TDC tutorial, what I do is I lock in on the ship, and I might pause here for a moment while I explain this. E-lock the ship, pan the scope to the left until it reads 330. At this point, I'll be able to enter in a 90-degree angle on bow. And then with the ship E-locked, if I pan back to the right, it'll show me the adjusted angle on bow as I move. And because it's 30 off, I would expect here it would be at about a 60-degree angle on bow. And that would allow me, it would basically give me the option, since I'm approaching from the bow, I could take the shot pretty much anywhere between 0 bearing and 330 bearing and have a pretty high impact angle on my torpedo, anywhere from 60 degrees to 90 degrees. So it gives me this whole range of space where it's at my option where I want to shoot. The other nice thing about approaching on the bow like this is you're showing maybe a little bit less of a, as opposed to coming in from this side and showing, a lot of your broadside, you're showing lesser of a broadside of your ship sub, and you're maybe a little bit harder to detect. So with that, I'm going to take us back out of Excel time. I'm going to clean up my map a little bit, and I'm going to assign officers. We'll go ahead and put Herman, hit the tab key, and we'll put him on the, on the attack scope. And we got Rager on the TDC, so we're all set. And we've got our captain who's in training mode with his new watch officer. He's just kind of overseeing the whole show here and letting them run the attack. And I'm at 0 speed. I'm going to go ahead back to
half ahead.
I think we were at around half ahead. And I'm going to probably shoot when I'm, maybe when I close this distance to about 1,000 meters. And in the meantime, I can check. It's still showing the ship bearing 29, so it's still up here. And I have plenty of time to make my observations. So let's go ahead and go to the scope. We know the ship's bearing is about 29. If I put it on 0.6, it'll let me scroll the scope a little quicker. Is that on 0.6? Let's try that again. There we go. So 29, it's around, yeah, there it is, right where we expected. So Empire Nightingale, and that's at 0.6, so it is fairly close. We'll go ahead and E-lock it. And we'll look at it at 1.5. And that's still, a little bit of a ways away. But it's going to continue to approach. And when I'm looking at it at the 1.5 for a freighter that's, say 100 meters long, it's probably going to take up about 2/3 of the 1.5 view. This particular ship looks like it's a Discovery class, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Oh, not Discovery, Explorer. But I knew that because I get used to finding ways to identify these ships, and one thing that's kind of telltale about the Explorer is it's got this very flat stern with nothing on it. So that to me is a giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize that. We can, at this point, take a reading on speed, but usually my next thing that I always do is I rotate the scope back to that 330, right? So once the ship reaches this point on its current course, it's going to be at a 90-degree angle on bow. So I'll go ahead and set it, and the rule for using this angle on bow is the ship is approaching from right to left, so my angle on bow at this 330, the ship will be going either this way, and I'm going to try to get it close to the 90-degree mark. So that's pretty close. I'll hit set, and that gives me angle on bow, and I'll click
Attack
here,
parameters update.
and
Angle 90. Bow left.
thank you, and that updates our TDC. So at this point, if I were to fire at 330, TDC would be happy. It would say, yes, we've got that entered in. Usually the next thing I go to is the velocity. But I might wait a little bit longer. We might wait till it's more like around 10. Maybe it takes up a little bit more of our scope. Although, you know, I've made this comment before where, you know, if I'm on an intercept course and this ship isn't really moving, and you can see as I'm sitting here and observing it, it's not moving that much. If I put the chronometer on it right now, it would take forever for the full length of this ship to pass this line. And that's even if I hit E and unlock it. But for some reason, so that's the true speed of it. If I actually timed that, it would come up with a speed so slow, it would be way off. I would have to stop my sub in order to get an accurate reading. But let's look what happens when I go ahead and put the E-lock back on. And because the solutions are specific to the ship, whatever I had entered in before, it comes right back up. So I'm going to come here and watch how the ship speeds up if I go to actually time it. Well, now all of a sudden it's jumped to a new speed. I'll go ahead and start it. And again, this chronometer is ignoring the fact that, you know, ignoring our relative motion. It's effectively, it completely stopped my ship and is, you know, it's as if my ship is going 0 and all we're doing is sitting here and observing the target. So it's a bit of an oddity. I like it because it's you know, it's still a time saver. I don't like waiting 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I can show you how to do that if you want to, but it takes 3 minutes and 15 seconds. This takes you know, what, 30, 40 seconds? So we'll stop, set, and that gives me the speed at 6 knots. And we'll go to 0.6. I'm getting really close now. I'm going to hold down the Alt button and slow myself down so that I don't run into this ship. And the last piece of it is distance. And if I've got that kind of view, and that ship being 100 meters long is bigger than these two lines, I'm inside of 1,000 meters, I would bet, easily. But I'm going to go back to 0.6. We'll go ahead and take a read on the distance. I've got the, I'm going to put my scope right on the horizon and use Q or E. I guess we use E. And what I'm doing is bringing those masts down to this line. So the tallest mast is this one in the middle. So it's right there. It's a little hard to see. But that looks about right. Maybe about there. And we'll do set, and sure enough, it's only 500 meters away. So at this point, I'm going to go all stop.
Engine stop.
And right now, we'll go ahead and
Attack parameters update.
load in the velocity.
Speed 6 knots.
We'll go ahead and set
parameters
the
update.
distance.
Distance to target 582 meters.
And if I slide back to, you know, my 330, which is right about there, you can see a 90-degree angle of bow, so that's still right. And as I pan back to the right, you can see my angle on bow is updating. And right now, I could take that shot, and this would not give me a 90-degree angle impact. If I wanted a 90-degree impact, I would need to shoot more, you know, more when the ship is right about, say, 330, 340. I could wait, but this will be a high enough impact shot that I might as well, or a high enough angle shot that I might as well go ahead and flood tubes, take the shot, and, you know, I will need to update the angle on bow. You notice that velocity is checked in on the TDC, distance is checked in on the TDC. It's approached me a little bit more, so it might be a little bit inside of 580,
Update.
maybe 550.
Distance 550 meters.
And my angle on bow, well, I'm getting very close to the 90 now. And that's going to go green. And when that goes green, Maybe I didn't
Attack parameters update.
update it.
AOB 9, 1 left.
So this should give me a fine shot. Now I'm not pointing at 0, so this is not going to be a 0 gyro angle. When I shoot, go ahead and launch it.
Fire. 40 seconds to impact.
And we'll jump up out of the
30 seconds.
sub. You can see that that torpedo had to take a gyro angle adjustment in order to make the shot.
20 seconds.
And that looks like a pretty good trail. And a decent hit. Now on this one, we ended up hitting it, you know, over this way. So I wasn't coming in at a perfect 90. It was almost like kind of like that. But it definitely got the job done, and shows you how you can use use that TDC gyro tool to figure out what your gyro adjustment TDC settings need to be in order to make these shots. Can accelerate time a little bit. I guess we can come out of alarm. We can surface the boat.
Current depth, 5 meters.
Go tab and stop direct orders. And we go half ahead, and we can start to move maybe toward the boat, and you know,
We've risen to the surface.
oh, there it sank. So now we can wander over and we can send our queued message. I don't know if I want to send a queued message or not, because I've still got that convoy out on the horizon. But I might pick up the survivors, and we'll go on to the next.